The wind howled through the shattered skies of Elvira Prime as ash rained down from the burning treetops. Explosions echoed in the distance, followed by the deep roar of engines tearing through the atmosphere. The ground trembled beneath the paws of a young Vulpine warrior as she crouched low on the ridge, her sharp ears flicking to every sound, her golden eyes locked on the battlefield below. Her name was Lyka. Born in the warrior caste of the fox-like Ilvari, she had never known peace. Her planet had been on fire since the day she could walk. From a young age, she was taught that her kind were Deathworlders, survivors of planets so harsh that other species couldn't step foot without dying. Her claws were trained to slice, her heart hardened to resist mercy. She believed she was the strongest, the fastest, the apex. But something had changed. Today, she saw something she couldn't explain. A machine fell from the sky. Not a missile, not a drone, but something different. It crashed just beyond the southern ridge, near the edge of Sector 9, where no Vulpine dared to go. Some said it was haunted, others said it was cursed. Lyka didn't care. She needed to know what it was. She moved swiftly through the trees, silent as a shadow, her cloak blending with the smoke. Her heart beat faster with each step, not from fear, but excitement. This could be the enemy's new tech, or a fallen god. She had to see it with her own eyes. When she arrived at the crash site, the trees were torn apart, the ground scorched in a perfect circle. Steam hissed from the edges of a large blackened pod embedded in the soil. The symbol on its side was unfamiliar. It wasn't Ilvari. It wasn't even from the warlords of Karen. She narrowed her eyes and drew her blade. Then something moved. The door of the pod creaked open. Lyka dropped into a crouch, ready to strike. A figure emerged, tall, upright, wounded. Not metal, not alien. It was soft-skinned, humanoid, covered in strange armor, bleeding from the arm, no tail, no fur. Its eyes scanned the trees slowly, as if trying to understand where it had landed. It was a human. Lyka froze. The old stories came rushing back, tales of the humans, ancient beasts of destruction who could survive black holes, walk through fire, and punch through war mechs with bare hands. But no one had seen one in centuries. Many believed they were extinct, or just myths to scare warrior pups, yet here one stood, breathing, bleeding, alive. And not afraid. The human looked directly at her, like he knew she was there. "I see you," he said softly, in near perfect Ilvari. His voice was tired, but calm. Lyka blinked, stunned. No outsider could speak her tongue. No outsider should know how to track her hidden scent trail. And no outsider should be standing after a fall like that. She stepped into view slowly, blade still drawn. "You are human?" she asked, her voice low, cautious. The man nodded once. "I think I crashed on the wrong planet," she frowned. "This is a death world," he smirked, wiping blood from his brow. "So am I." The forest was quiet. Even the smoke seemed to pause around them. Lyka didn't know what to do. For the first time in her life, she wasn't sure if she was the predator or the prey. Then behind her, an explosion rocked the ground. Warships flew low over the canopy. Enemy drones swarmed. Karen forces were advancing again. Lyka turned, prepared to retreat, but the human didn't flinch. He looked up, reached for something on his wrist, and tapped a hidden device. His body shimmered slightly as a small shield activated around him. "You need to leave," Lyka said. "Now. You're wounded." He shook his head. "I'm not here to run. I came to stop the war." She laughed, bitter. "You, one man? Do you know who the enemy is?" The human's eyes darkened. "Yes, and I know what they've done. That's why I'm here." For a second, Lyka believed him. She didn't know why, but there was something in his voice. Something that made her claws tremble slightly. More drones appeared, scanning the forest. They were looking for something or someone. The human turned to her again. "Can you guide me to their command center?" Lyka hesitated. She had orders. To report any strangers. To let no outsider live. But something told her this one wasn't just any outsider. She nodded slowly. "Follow me, but if you slow me down." "I won't," the human said, already moving as they disappeared into the smoke. Lyka realized something strange. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like the most dangerous creature in the forest, and deep inside. That scared her. The forest grew darker as Lyka led the human deeper into enemy territory. She moved like a shadow, but he followed without struggle. His steps were silent, precise. His breathing calm, even though blood still dripped down his arm. Lyka kept glancing back, expecting him to stumble or fall. But he didn't. Even the trees seemed to part for him, as if the forest somehow knew this man didn't belong to any world. He brought war with him. "Why are you really here?" Lyka finally asked, ducking beneath a broken tree branch. The human didn't answer right away. He looked ahead, scanning the terrain. Then he replied, "Because your war is about to get worse. And someone has to stop it before the galaxy burns." Lyka narrowed her eyes. "You think you can stop Karen's armies alone?" "No," he said, "but I'm not alone." That made her pause. "There are more of you." He gave a half smile. "Not anymore. I'm the last, but I have something they want." Lyka's ears twitched. "What is it?" The human reached into his armored vest and pulled out a small glowing sphere. It pulsed with strange blue light, almost like it was alive. Lyka felt her fur stand on end just looking at it. "This is their fear," he said, "and their greed." Before she could ask more, an alert chirped in Lyka's ear. Enemy scout drones had entered her zone. She cursed under her breath and grabbed the human's wrist. "Stay low, don't speak. If they see us, we're both dead." The human nodded, ducking behind a moss-covered rock beside her. The drones hovered past, scanning the area with red lights, their thin metallic bodies twitching in the air like insects. One came dangerously close. Lyka reached for her blade, but the human placed a hand gently on her arm. "Wait," he whispered. She looked at him like he was mad. But the human slowly pressed 2 fingers to his temple. A high-pitched pulse shot. Out silent to most ears, but the drones jerked mid-air, blinked once, and then floated away, confused and unresponsive. Lyka stared in disbelief. "How?" She hissed. "I've been fighting machines like these since before your war even started." His voice held no pride, only experience. And something else Lyka couldn't name, not arrogance, not fear, just resolve. They moved again, this time toward an old Elvari tunnel system buried under the cliffs. The metal doors were rusted, nearly buried in vines and dirt. Most believed the tunnels had collapsed years ago, but Lyka knew the truth. She had used them for years to move unseen between BATTLEFRON. She tapped in a hidden code. The old doors groaned open, revealing darkness inside. The human didn't hesitate. He stepped in first. Lyka followed, sealing the doors behind them. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Old war posters still clung to the walls, peeling and faded. The path ahead sloped down sharply, lit only by Lyka's bioluminescent scarf. As they walked, Lyka studied him. His body moved like a soldier, but not like any warrior she had trained with. He didn't waste movement, he didn't show pain. It was like his mind had been trained to ignore the body's limits. "What's your name?" she finally asked. "Cole. Just Cole. No title, no clan, no rank. And you're the last of your kind?" She asked quietly. He didn't answer. His silence said enough. They reached the end of the tunnel. A steel door stood ahead, one that opened to the cliff edge overlooking the Karen base. Lyka had used this viewpoint to mark enemy patrols for months. Now she stood beside a living myth, about to watch him do something insane. Cole looked through. The crack in the steel. How many guards at the gate? 7 minimum, she said. With energy rifles and auto sentries. Cole grinned. Easy, easy. Lyka looked at him like he'd gone mad. That's suicide. He tapped his arm again. A shimmering wave moved over his armor. His figure began to fade into the background, almost invisible. I've been dead once before, he said. This is just a second chance. And with that, he slipped through the crack and vanished into the night. Lyka stood frozen. Her instincts told her to leave, to run back and report to her clan. But something deep inside her shifted. She thought she was the Deathworlder, the fiercest, the strongest. But now, she had doubts, because in that moment, she realized whatever planet birthed Cole was far worse than her own. Asterisk. The wind howled across the cliffside as Lyka waited in the dark. Below, the Karen base hummed with cruel life metal towers lit with red searchlights, patrol bots gliding through air lanes, and turrets that scanned the forest edge like predators, hungry for movement. No ordinary soldier could sneak past such defenses, but Cole was no ordinary soldier. Lyka watched through the narrow slit in the cliff door. She scanned every patrol route, every guard post, expecting the human to fail. Expecting him to trip, get caught, be burned down by a sentry beam. But nothing happened. One moment the guards stood alert. The next, they were unconscious. One by one, they dropped, no screams, no sound. Just sudden collapse, like a ghost had walked among them. She could barely see him. Only flickers of motion betrayed his path, small shimmers of disturbed light. A shadow here, a fallen rifle there. Her sharp eyes tried to follow, but even she couldn't keep up. When he reappeared near the inner compound, her breath caught. He waved a small signal up toward the cliff, and she knew what it meant. It was time to move. Lyka opened the hidden hatch near the back of the tunnel and slid down the narrow chute that led beneath the enemy walls. Only high-ranking scouts knew about this passage, and she had sworn never to use it again. But Cole had already broken every rule she followed. When she emerged behind the supply depot, Cole was already waiting. You took your time, he whispered. I didn't expect you to make it this far, she replied. Neither did they. He smirked. They moved together now, silent and fast, slipping past guards and disabling sensors. Lyka felt something strange, like she wasn't leading anymore. She was following, and yet she didn't feel weak. She felt useful. They reached the central data tower, a tall black spike surrounded by auto cannons and thermal barriers. This is it, Cole said, planting a small device against the wall. I get the data. We find the location of their weapons vault, and we destroy it. Lyka narrowed her eyes. Just like that? Cole's expression changed. His calm faded just a little. My people once trusted the Karen too, he said. We gave them peace, shared tech, even helped them fight off raiders. But they wanted more. They always want more. Lyka asked quietly, what did they do? To your world? Cole stared at the door as the device beeped. They took it. For a moment, Lyka didn't speak. She knew what that meant. Not just conquest erasure. No survivors, no second chances. She wondered if that was why Cole didn't fear death. Maybe it had already happened to him once. The door clicked. Cole slipped inside, pulling Lyka behind. Rows of screens lit the room in blue light. A central console pulsed with encrypted data. Cole moved fast, fingers tapping commands, unlocking layers of enemy information like he'd done it 100 times before. Suddenly, the alarms blared. A flashing red warning appeared. Unauthorized access detected. Lyka cursed. We have to go. Cole stayed calm. Almost done. Footsteps thundered outside. Guards shouted. Weapons clicked. I'll hold them off, Lyka growled, drawing her twin blades. You don't have to, Cole began, but she was already gone. leaping into the hallway like a flash of fire. Her blades cut clean and fast, her body spinning between blasts and bullets. She didn't think, didn't fear, she moved. Behind her, Cole pulled the final data file. Coordinates. Weapon schematics. Deployment plans. It was worse than he expected. The Karen weren't just building a new weapon, they were preparing to erase 3 planets. Including Elvira Prime. He downloaded everything, then rushed out to find Lyka pinned behind a pillar. Her shoulder burned, still fighting off 2 armored guards. Cole didn't hesitate. He threw a small orb toward them. It exploded in silent blue light. Both guards dropped, stunned. He grabbed Lyka, pulling her up. "You're hit. I'm fine," she hissed. "You will be." He pulled out a small injector and slammed it into her arm. Pain shot through her body, then vanished. She looked at him in shock. "What was that?" "Human painkiller," he said. "Strong stuff. Don't get addicted." They ran toward the southern wall, where Cole had set an escape charge earlier. He tapped his wrist, and the wall exploded outward. Blinding light. Fire. Then air. They leaped through the flames, landing hard in the grass beyond the wall. Drones buzzed in the sky above, scanning, searching, but the pair had already vanished into the shadows of the forest. As they slowed down, Lyka glanced at him, panting. "That was insane," Cole smiled. "Told you, I've done worse." She didn't speak again for a while. But in her heart, she finally admitted something she had refused to believe. She wasn't the scariest thing in the galaxy. Not anymore. Asterisk smoke still curled from the blast zone behind them, and the hum of drones filled the sky as Lyka and Cole weaved through the dense underbrush. Every second counted. They had stolen something Karen would kill entire cities to get back. Lyka gritted her teeth, her shoulders still sore even after the human injection. She glanced sideways at Cole. His pace hadn't slowed. His breathing remained even. How could one man move like a machine and still bleed like flesh? "Where now?" she asked. "North. There's an old Terran Comes relay buried in the canyon. If I can link the data to orbit, someone out there might still be listening." "You said you're the last," Lyka muttered. "I am," Cole said, without stopping. "But I left backups, messages, warnings. If anyone finds them, they'll know what Karen's building." Lyka paused, crouched behind a tree as a scout drone passed overhead. "Why do you care? This isn't your war." Cole turned to her, face suddenly serious. "It is now. Your world's next, Lyka. But after Elvira, it's Earth. My people are scattered, weak. But if we hit Karen's weapons here, we slow them down everywhere." His voice didn't shake, but Lyka sensed something underneath it, a weight too. Heavy to speak. A loss too old to cry for. "Did you have a name for your world?" she asked softly. He gave a tired smile. "Home." They kept moving until they reached the edge of the canyon. Sharp cliffs dropped into shadows below, and far down, hidden by vines and broken rock, was the old Terran relay station, rusted, bent, but still standing. Lyka knelt beside the console while Cole wiped the dirt from the broken panel. "You really think this still works?" she asked. "It's human tech," Cole said, pulling open the casing. "We build to last." As he worked, Lyka kept watch. Her ears flicked with every crunch of leaves, every whisper of wind. She hated waiting. She hated silence. But this wasn't ordinary silence. This was the kind of quiet that always came before an ambush. Then it happened. The trees behind them exploded in a shower of metal and flame. Karen soldiers poured through the smoke, 7 of them in full exo-armor. Not scouts. Assassins. Cole reacted instantly. He tossed a flash grenade, grabbed Lyka's arm, and dove behind the relay tower. Energy blasts lit up the canyon wall. "We're pinned," Lyka shouted. "Not yet," Cole growled, pulling a strange device from his back. It looked like a rifle, but sleeker, alien and human fused into one. "What is that?" she asked. "The last gift Earth gave me." He stepped out from behind. "Cover and open fire." The weapon hummed, and a beam of pure light carved through one of the Karen soldiers, cutting straight through the armor. The others scattered, roaring commands in their mechanical voices. Lyka joined him, blades flashing, moving low and fast. She slipped beneath a soldier's legs, sliced his knee joint, then drove her blade into the neck seam of his armor. The hiss of dying circuitry filled her ears. Another blast came from above. A drone had locked on. Cole saw it too late. The drone fired a searing bolt of plasma, streaked toward him, but Lyka jumped. She slammed into him mid-blast, knocking him aside. The plasma hit her back, burning through her cloak and armor. She screamed, rolled, and crashed into the rocks. Cole was on her side in seconds. No, stay with me," he said, voice tight. Lyka coughed, blood in her mouth. "Still think I'm weak?" He barked a laugh, even as he applied a burn patch to her back. "You're the craziest fox I've ever met." "They'll keep coming," she whispered. "They won't stop." "I know," Cole said, eyes scanning. The wreckage, only 2 Karen soldiers remained. One advanced, but Cole shot clean through its visor. The last turned to run, but Lyka, bleeding and half-conscious, threw her blade through its back before collapsing again. When the dust cleared, Cole lifted her carefully. She was barely awake, ears drooping. "Did you send the data?" she asked weakly. "Just finished," Cole replied. "Now they know." "Who?" "Everyone who still remembers Earth." Lyka smiled faintly. "Then, it was worth it." Cole looked down at her, his hands shaking just a little. Not from fear, but from something harder to control. Anger, guilt, maybe even care. He wrapped her wound, checked her pulse, and carried her through the canyon, back into the forest. The human who had lost everything now carried the girl who once believed she was the strongest being in the galaxy. And for the first time, she didn't care who the real Deathworlder was, because now, they were both part of something bigger than war. They were part of a fight for survival. Together. The moonlight bled through the trees as Cole laid Lyka down beneath a wide, hollowed-out root. Her fur was soaked in sweat, scorched along her spine where the plasma had burned her. She winced, her claws digging into the soil as pain flared through. Her body, Cole's hands moved quickly but gently. He injected a stronger dose of painkiller, followed by a healing compound, something so rare even the Karen elites couldn't afford it. It hissed softly as it entered her bloodstream, Lyka's. Breathing slowed, and her golden eyes fluttered open. "You had that with you the whole time?" "It's all I had left from Earth's med bay," he said. "I was saving it for myself." She smirked weakly. "Foolish human, you'd do the same." "No," she whispered. "I was trained not to care, but something changed." Cole stared at her, unsure how to respond. Her voice held no sarcasm, no mockery, only truth. And it unsettled him more than a battlefield. A loud hum broke the silence. Cole looked up sharply. The Karen were moving fast. Drones buzzed high above, scanning for heat signatures. A beacon had likely been activated by one of the dead soldiers. Reinforcements would descend soon. He turned back to Lyka. "Can you move?" She tried to sit but grimaced, tail twitching in pain. "Not fast enough." He cursed under his breath, scanning their surroundings. Then his eyes locked on an old cliffside vent system, part of the long-abandoned mining station from centuries ago. "We're going underground." He picked her up without asking. Her claws brushed against his chest armor. She didn't protest. The tunnel entrance was hidden beneath thick vines. Cole used a plasma cutter to slice them clean. Inside, the passage was cold and stale, the air heavy with the scent of old oil and rusted metal. He walked quickly, every footstep echoing through the darkness. Lyka leaned against him. "Why do you fight like this, for people not your own?" Cole didn't answer at first. He kept walking, his jaw clenched tight. They were my own, he said finally. I had a unit, people I'd die for, and I did, again and again. Until one day, they died for me. Her ears lowered as she listened. I survived, he continued. But I don't know if that makes me lucky or cursed. I just know I can't. Stop. If I see a world about to fall, I have to do something. Lyka nodded slowly. Then maybe you are a Deathworlder. They reached a wider chamber, collapsed crates, shattered lights, and an old terminal glowing faintly with residual power. Cole gently set her down beside a broken panel and scanned the surroundings. I can hold them off from here if they track us. But you need to stay awake. Lyka's eyes met his. Why? Because I'm not losing another one. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then the tunnel lights flickered, an old alarm system kicking in. Cole grabbed his weapon and moved toward the shadows. A cold voice echoed through the tunnels. Mechanized, ruthless. Human designation, Cole Mercer. Surrender, you are surrounded. Lyka's ears twitched. They know your name? They studied US long before they attacked, Cole said, cocking his rifle. They knew our weaknesses, our families, our fears. He stepped into the hallway. You have one chance, human. The Elvari girl is injured. Leave her, and we will let you walk. Away. Cole didn't blink. He fired a shot directly into the speaker above the voice, silencing it. Then he spoke loud and clear. She's stronger than all of you. And I'd burn your entire fleet before I let you touch her. The shadows moved. Karen's soldiers entered. The corridor, 6 of them, sleek armor gleaming, weapons raised. Cole didn't wait. He charged. His rifle lit the tunnel in pulses of white light. He moved like fury itself, dodging blasts, sliding across the floor, punching through armor. One soldier went down, then another, but the Karen were adapting. Their shots became more precise. A blast grazed Cole's side, burning through his armor and drawing blood. He didn't stop. From her corner, Lyka watched with wide eyes. He wasn't fighting like a soldier anymore. He was fighting like a man with nothing to lose. She dragged herself to her feet, one blade still strapped to her leg. Her vision blurred, but her heart beat stronger than ever. I won't let him fight. Alone, she growled with a cry. She stumbled into the hallway limping, bleeding but deadly. She lunged at one Karen from behind, driving her blade deep between the neck plates. The soldier fell with a metallic scream. Cole saw her and shook his head in disbelief. You stubborn fox. Don't tell me what to do, she said, panting. The final 2 Karen soldiers hesitated for just a moment, and that was all Cole needed. He surged forward, slamming his rifle into one's chest, shattering the power core. The last tried to run, but Lyka threw her second blade into its back, dropping it like stone. Silence returned. Breathing hard, Cole leaned against the wall. Lyka collapsed beside him, smiling through blood. Told you, not weak. He laughed. Low and exhausted. No, you're not. Then the old tunnel rumbled, distant booms above. Karen was sending everything now, but Cole and Lyka were no longer just a fox and a man. They were warriors, and they were not done yet. Asterisk. Smoke clung to the tunnel ceiling like a ghost, thick and heavy with the scent of scorched armor and burning wires. Cole leaned against the rusted wall, bleeding from his side. Lyka sat beside him, her back braced against a steel crate, a rag wrapped tight around her injured arm. Neither spoke for a while. Their weapons lay across their laps, ready, though their hands trembled from exhaustion. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was the silence of 2 warriors who had just survived. Something they weren't meant to survive. Finally, Lyka broke it. I've never fought like that before. You've never had to, Cole replied, wiping blood from his temple. This wasn't a normal battle. She glanced at him. You fought like you were already dead. He gave a tired smile. Maybe I was. The tunnel lights flickered again. This time, they didn't return. darkness. Swallowed them whole. Lyka adjusted her scarf. The glow from the fabric lit their faces in soft blue. How much longer do we have before they find us again? Minutes, maybe less, Cole said. He tapped the side of his rifle, checking the charge. I can keep them off for a while, but not forever. If they send a mech or orbital drone, we die, Lyka finished. Cole didn't argue, but then she said something he didn't expect. Then we make it count. He looked at her, puzzled. If I'm going to die, she said quietly, it won't be running. It won't be hiding. It'll be fighting beside you. Cole's throat tightened. He wanted to protest. Tell her she didn't need to stay, that she was young, that she had a future. But he knew the truth. She wouldn't leave even if he begged. I wasn't meant to survive the crash, he said after a moment. But maybe I crashed here for a reason. Lyka tilted her head. To help me? To help everyone, he replied. To make sure this war doesn't spread. To remind them what humans were capable of. She smiled faintly. I used to think we were the most dangerous species. And now? I think you're worse, she said. But somehow, that comforts me. Before he could answer, a soft beep came from his wrist. The data he'd stolen, the weapon. Plans, the enemy locations. The activation codes they were uploading. The Terran beacon in the canyon was still functional. Someone's receiving it, Cole said. A fleet? A resistance cell? I don't know who. But they're out there. And now they know. Lyka's eyes lit up. Then we've already won. He gave a slow nod. If we survive long enough. A tremor shook the tunnel floor. Dust rained down from above. Lyka stood, though her knees wobbled. They're bringing something bigger, she said. Cole could already feel the vibrations, heavy steps. Mech legs. He grabbed 2 energy grenades from his pack and handed one to her. We hold the line here. We stall them. No escape plan? No time. She took the grenade. Then let's give them a final memory. They moved toward the tunnel bend, the last defensible choke point. Broken metal crates provided limited cover. A collapsed beam formed a narrow bottleneck perfect for ambush. As they crouched behind cover, Cole glanced at her again. You don't have to prove anything. Lyka smiled, her ears twitching. This isn't about proving, it's about choosing. They waited in silence. The air grew colder. The hum of approaching machines filled the void. Then the enemy came. First Karen troopers entered, black armor gleaming, weapons charged. Cole fired first, sending one flying back with a blast to the chest. Lyka sprang from behind cover, slicing across another's legs before ducking behind a pillar. The tunnel erupted in chaos, sparks, screams, flashing light. Behind them, a larger shape loomed. The mech had arrived. It ducked into the tunnel, its head scraping the ceiling. Its cannon arm powered up, glowing with brutal energy. Cole tossed his grenade toward it, but the shield deflected it. They've upgraded, he muttered. I don't care. Lyka snarled. She leapt forward, ducking under the mech's swing and driving her blade into its thigh joint. Sparks flew, but the mech kicked her away, slamming her into the wall. Cole yelled her name and charged in, firing point blank into the mech's FSC, EPL, AT. It turned, backhanded him across the tunnel. Blood sprayed from his mouth, but he stood. Back up. He reached for the last grenade, but Lyka was already crawling toward it. She picked it up, activated the charge, and looked at Cole. I told you, she said. I'm not leaving you. He nodded. No words were needed now. She hurled the grenade into the mech's open chest cavity, and Cole opened fire again, keeping its shield distracted. The explosion rocked the entire tunnel. The mech collapsed, flames bursting from its core. And then, silence. Everything stopped. Smoke settled. The air trembled with heat. Lyka crawled beside Cole. They were both alive, but barely. He looked at her through the smoke. Still think you're the Deathworlder? She smirked, blood running down her fur. Maybe, but you're the reason I still breathe. They didn't know how long they had left, but for now. They had together. The flames inside the tunnel had died down, leaving only smoldering wreckage and silence. Cole and Lyka sat side by side, leaning against the cracked metal wall, their bodies battered but breathing. The mech's shattered remains lay in the center of the corridor, still sparking. Faintly. Outside, the night had fallen over the jungle world of Elvira, but in this ruined tunnel, it felt like the end of something much bigger. Lyka's ears twitched. She could hear distant engines, but none were moving closer. No more soldiers, no. More drones for now. She glanced at Cole. His face was pale, eyes heavy, blood caked around the wound on his ribs. But he was still alert, still gripping his weapon like he'd dropped dead before letting it go. You know, she said softly, back when I believed I was a Deathworlder. I never imagined I could bleed like this. Cole chuckled weakly. Bleeding doesn't make you weak. It makes me real, she whispered. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of survival hanging between them. Then Lyka asked, do you think anyone heard your signal? I know someone did, Cole said. They answered. Lyka's eyes widened. Who? Cole turned his wrist console toward her. The cracked screen showed a flashing symbol, an old Terran resistance mark. A Vulf over a burning star. Signal confirmed, he said. They're on the way, not a fleet, but enough. Enough to stop the Karen? Enough to make them run. She exhaled, ears relaxing for the first time in days. Then we did it. Cole looked at her, something quiet but powerful in his gaze. No, you did it. I crashed here broken, with nothing left to give. But you reminded me how to fight again. Lyka lowered her head slightly, ears turning red. I followed because I thought you were stronger. Now I know. Strength isn't about claws or speed. It's about standing when your legs want to collapse. You did that, he smiled. So did you. Footsteps approached in the distance, light ones, not Karen. Not machines. Lyka tensed, then paused. Those are Alvari. A few seconds later, a team of Vulpine scouts entered the tunnel, weapons raised, until they saw her. Then everything stopped. Commander Lyka, one said, stunned. You're alive? Lyka stood slowly. Her armor was scorched. Her blade cracked, her fur burned in places, but she stood tall. I am. And so is the one who saved your world. They stared at Cole, dirty, bleeding, armor shattered, leaning on a wall. One scout stepped forward. Is he really human? Yes, Lyka said. And he didn't come to conquer. He came to protect. Another scout stepped up. We received a signal. Resistance ships are entering orbit. They say it came from here. Cole gave a weak thumbs up. Told you I was good at crashing parties. The Vulpine soldiers laughed. Lightly. It was the first sound of peace Lyka had heard in months. But then she looked at Cole again and saw the wound he'd been hiding. Blood soaked his side, spreading quickly now. His strength was failing. No, she whispered, catching him before he slid down. You're not dying now. Cole tried to smile. Guess I saved one too many worlds. Medic! Lyka shouted. The scouts rushed forward, lifting him gently, placing med patches on his chest, injecting healing foam into the wound. Cole groaned but stayed conscious. Lyka held his hand tightly. I won't let them forget you, she said. I don't care if they do, he whispered. Just don't forget me. I couldn't even if I tried. As the resistance signal grew stronger and Vulpine forces re-established their command lines, the war began to shift. The data Cole had stolen revealed the locations of Karen's deepest weapon silos, their secret labs, and their hidden forward bases. Within days, the skies changed. The Karen began to fall back. Elvira Prime would not burn, and the legend of the Deathworlder took a new form, not a cold monster of war, but a human who bled, who stood when broken, and who made even a fox girl warrior believe again. Lyka stood at the edge of the cliff days later, watching the human recovery ship land. Cole, now stabilized and barely able to walk, leaned on her shoulder as they stared at the morning sun. "You know," he said, "I still don't understand how you survived that plasma shot." "I told you," she smirked. "I'm the Deathworlder." He laughed. And for the first time since the fall of Earth, he felt like he had found a home again, not just a planet, but someone who refused to run. Just like him.